Hello, my name is Xavier Pantoja, and this is my Fall 2023 Art 305 art presentation. My theme, the theme that I decided to go with is an idealization of the representation of the human form. The basis for my comparison of the two artworks I picked is how these two artists were able to convey the technique of realism, depicting the human body and adding amazing details or textures. These two artworks both relate to each other and my theme by capturing the beauty of the human body using stone. Um, so here is the comparison of my two artworks, which is Dorio Forest by Politicus and Venus de Milo by Alexandros of Antoinette, through the lens of idealization of the representation of the human form. Imagine being in an archaeological museum of Naples and witnessing the sculpture Doria Forest created by Politicus, or being in the Louvre Museum within the same presence as Venus de Milo created by Alexandros of Antoinette. Two breathtaking artworks, both able to capture the theme of idealization of the representation of the human form and convey the technique of realism, depicting the human body with such amazing details and textures. These two artworks both relate to my theme, and they both represent the idealization. First, let's take a deep look at Dora Forest, which is found in the textbook by Brown Betty Ann. Um, we know the medium is marble and the dimensions are 6 feet and 11 inches. So that gives us a pretty clear picture of the look and scale of this big piece of art. The average man is 5 feet and 8 inches. So comparing that to the sculpture also gives you a pretty clear image of its scale. Some formal elements are its composition. As you notice, Doria Forest stands on his right foot, weight bearing with his left leg being relaxed as his left hand is weight bearing with a spear, and his right hand is being relaxed. After doing some research, I stumbled across an article titled Macomb Robert Cecile, which gave me further insight into explaining his stance, as it states the scene represents a young man walking and stretching his right hand as the other balances the spear. But now going into a pictorial space, we know the scale of this artwork and we know it's a 3D model, but we might need to see more visible than the artwork itself. And as we notice, the artwork looks very alive, almost looking as the statue itself has the intent to move within our world, generating that pictorial space. Taking a look at the line upon Dario Forest, you can notice his left ankle is tilted, which tilts the axis of his body, but the hip line is parallel to his knees being slanted. But now let's turn to the form, which seems to be very slanted and leaning on the right side, and its color is very gray, almost as if I could feel the marble just by looking at it. The color is very gray. Whenever Dora Forest is within the light from the sculpture becomes reflective and vibrant, making the tone have a combination of light and darkness. The textures on the sculpture are very smooth with no rough patches, making the sculpture look very realistic and creating a very smooth pattern all across the body, especially in the hips. The hips are carved so smoothly, giving the illusion of making this artwork alive, as we could really see his bones, and we could really kind of see like this painting, I'm not this sculpture coming alive. Second, I will move on to my second artwork, which is Venus de Milo by Alexandros of Antoinette, now located in Louvre Museum. Um, we know its medium is marble and the dimensions are 6 feet and 8 inches. So that gives us a pretty good scale. Judging based off its height, we can tell that the sculpture is pretty big and takes up a lot of space within the room. The composition of the sculpture seems to be slanted and her shoulders are not aligned, as she's weight bearing towards the right side. This also gives us better insight in its line, as you notice her shoulders are slanted but parallel to her hips, which creates the line upon the figure. Also, if you notice, her arms are missing. This creates that pictorial space since her body is weight bearing to the gesture of her arms. It also contributes to her form because we could see her back is a bit slouched. This information was obtained by an article titled Kauser, Rachel Creating the Past, the Venus de Milo. Now the color is very gray and neutral, not too dark, not too bright, giving a perfect smooth texture to create that realism, bringing the sculpture alive and representing the theme of idealization of the human form. Even looking at the pattern, you notice the smooth texture is consistent. all around creating a pattern, now changing the course of evaluation. We're going to dive into the larger meanings and significance of these artworks. Going with Dorian Forest first, we know it was created back in ancient Greece between 120 to 50 BC and is located today in southeastern Europe along with the Mediterranean Sea. During this time, mathematics was born and used in art to capture the perfect beauty of the human body, which became a big part of the culture later in time. The sculpture Dorian Forest's larger meaning is the idea of human form as it's showcased within the artwork. Its significance is this artwork was one of the first to include contraspatho, the art of making figures look alive. Contraspasto became a big part of many artists' sculpting or painting, which influenced many other artworks to come in history. Going back to Venus de Milo, we know that its larger meaning and significance is very similar to Dora Forest. Its larger meaning is the idealization of the representation of the human form due to its creator being ancient Greek and was sculpted along the Mandarin River around 150 BC, a time when beauty of the human body was appreciated and captured within stone. Also, mathematics was a big part of creating the sculpture. Its significance is it left a mark on the art history in ancient Greece and was an early Hellenistic art piece. Hellenistic art builds on the heritage of Greek art but adds Eastern influences, which would become a popular art style later in time. Now I come back to my theme of idealization of the representation of the human form. Um, That idealization within art is just the same and usually depicted as young, but very rare. If depicted as old or in poor people, both of my artworks have an ancient Greek culture behind them, as they both required mathematics to capture the beauty of the human body using realism and stone. Politicus and Alexandra of Antoinette are two very talented artists who use specific techniques like contraspo and Hellenistic art. Both of these artworks look very realistic and bring the sculpture alive, showing the true beauty of the human body. And here is my works cited. Thank you.